First, however, the headlines for Sunday morning, the 27th of September. Hurricane George has caused havoc in the Caribbean and in the Florida Keys and is headed now for landfall on the Gulf Coast. Brian Norcross is watching the progress of the storm for us in Miami. Brian?
Charles, unfortunately, it looks like this day may go down in hurricane history along the Gulf Coast as Hurricane George moves in as a 110-mile-an-hour, maybe 115-mile-an-hour windstorm, but worse than that, the story of this hurricane is going to be water. As the storm approaches now on the New Orleans area, New Orleans right here, what's going to happen is a tremendous amount of water is going to get pushed up on the Gulf Coast. And then when it gets up in here, it's going to come back. Lake Pontchartrain pushed back toward New Orleans. The computers are indicating the possibility of over 30 inches of rain as this hurricane pushes in on the Gulf Coast with hurricane force winds all the way from the New Orleans area over to Mobile. And you have the combination of the Gulf being pushed up in there at a height of 15, 17 feet where those inlets are, and then add 30 inches of rain in some areas on top of that. This could be the flood of all time in that area, and that's why the evacuations are underway at full force with very good reason there along the Gulf Coast. It should arrive at the tip of the Mississippi, the tip of Louisiana there later on the daylight hours, and then overnight, looks like the eye will go very near the city of New Orleans. Charles?
Thank you, Brian. Biloxi, Mississippi is bracing for the storm, and Jim Axelrod is watching preparations there for us. Jim?
Good morning, Charles. All along the Gulf Coast of Mississippi this morning, church services have been canceled. But there are people from Florida, Alabama, Mississippi, and Louisiana who are praying hard nonetheless that Hurricane George will spare them. But as you just heard Brian Norcross say, those are prayers that apparently will go unanswered. Here in Biloxi, the wind is starting to kick up. We see clouds moving westward at a rapid clip. Every now and again, a mullet will pop out of the water here. Biloxi is 60 miles east of New Orleans, but those winds extend 175 miles from the center of George, so that certainly puts Biloxi in the hit zone if indeed New Orleans does have the bullseye painted on it. That's causing a lot of concern here, primarily for people that operate and own these casinos that sit all along the water here on the Gulf of Mexico. They sit on barges. There's about 10 of them. And they're moored with state-of-the-art docking system that include links of chain that weigh 100 pounds apiece. They're supposed to withstand winds up to 150 miles an hour. Trouble is, Charles, it's never been tested by a hurricane.
Thank you, Jim. Preparations are being made as well further along the Gulf Coast in Slidell, Louisiana, where reporter Dave McNamara of station WWL New Orleans is standing by to bring us up to date. Dave?
And Charlie, we're just on the north shore of Lake Pontchartrain, maybe 20 miles from the city of New Orleans. This is a waterfront community here. You know, it's not been since Hurricane Betsy in 1965 that the New Orleans area has been threatened with a direct hit from a major hurricane. But that's what this area appears to be in store for. Evacuations in the low-lying coastal areas of Louisiana began 2 days ago. Yesterday, the word went out that about 1 million people in the metro New Orleans area needed to leave also. The city has a levee system, but with storm tides predicted in the 10 to 15 to 17 or 18-foot range, there's a strong possibility some of those levee systems could be topped, inundating at least parts of the city with water. That is the biggest concern, as your weathercaster said a few minutes ago, the storm surges and the heavy rains, and many people are heeding the warnings to evacuate this area. Charlie?
Thank you, Dave. So much for the morning's bad weather. On now to what will be quite a nice summery day elsewhere in this country. Just take a look at these temperatures. 80s and 90s from the southern plains to the northeast, though there may be some rainfall there in New England. Just beautiful, however, around the Great Lakes and the upper Midwest. And very pleasant indeed from there, clear out to the coast through Central California and Nevada. They probably won't share in the glory of this glorious day. This is, as you know, the final day of the regular baseball season, if such an amazing season can be called regular.